Hi there, this is Steve Spurrier. You can join University of Florida Hall of Famer Shane Matthews and also the two-time SEC Player of the Year every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, opinions, and some of the biggest names in sports. You can find him on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or you can watch him live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter.
Or else, let's see what the hell. I do want to see his house though. He's got that antebellum house next to the golf course.
From World War. I mean, the Civil War.
Yeah, the Pocahontas area. Did you go? For a month. Imagine what that.
Man.
I'm hanging in there. Glad to be at the end of the week. We had a nice pitchers duel yesterday at the ballpark where Florida beat Alabama 3-0 to start off the SEC 1-0. One hit, complete game shutout from our guy Sproat. And that's I did not see a 3-0 game, but the pitching took over last night. So good for Florida getting that one hit shutout to beat Alabama 3-0 and start the SEC 1-0. We had that. Watched basketball all day while you were working yesterday, QB. So I tell you,
I actually saw a bunch of games yesterday.
Oh, well, that's good. Okay, good. Well, what stood out? Obviously, the upset.
Well,
yeah,
obviously there were two upsets, Princeton and Furman. But good gracious, that guard who's been at Virginia for so long gets trapped in the corner.
Oh, I know.
Because heaves one down to mid-court, gets
Fatal
picked off,
mistake.
and then the Purple Paladins knock one down to win the game. So that was exciting.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see the Princeton game, but upsetting Arizona was pretty big for them.
It was, and this not a good look for the Pac-12 when your conference tournament champion goes down to an Ivy. But give Princeton a lot of credit. They don't turn the ball over. They're very disciplined with the basketball. They wait for a good shot and they take it when it comes, and they use that shot clock and really slow the game down. So that may have frustrated Arizona a little bit. But the thing is that Arizona just missed a lot of shots at the end of the game, down the last 5-6 minutes of the game. And Princeton took advantage of that, had to come back and make up a deficit, did that, and won. So that's your big 2 versus 15 upset, or 15 versus 2 upset. I think it's happened 3 times in the last 11 years. And Princeton's moving on to play Missouri, who looked really good, beating Utah State by 11 yesterday as well. So they will play Missouri. That's a surprise. I thought another thing that was really shocking somewhat was how Penn State just manhandled Texas A&M and really took away their athleticism with the 3. Penn State shoots the 3 really well. I just learned that yesterday, evidently. So here's Penn State, who was picked 11th in the Big Ten before the season, had really no aspirations for March Madness going into February. And since then, they have been really, really good. Dynamite performance for Penn State. And they get the Texas Longhorns, who beat some team, Colgate, by 20. So that stood out for me as well, the way Penn State played. I like to see the SEC do as well as it did. Other than Texas A&M, you had Auburn, and you had Arkansas, you had Tennessee, and I may be forgetting one other.
Missouri.
Alabama and Missouri. all wins. So the SEC made a good accounting for itself. The Big Ten really didn't, other than that Penn State game and Northwestern winning. But they lost some games.
Well, Maryland won.
Maryland is in a Big Ten. You're right. So that was a big comeback win. They were down 9 to West Virginia in the middle of the second half, and they made a nice little run there to take that game away and win it. Northwestern was good for them in that conference as well, beating Boise State. Boise State, I don't think any team from Idaho, Boise State or anyone else, has won an NCAA tournament game, I think I read, since 1982. So it's been a drought for the Idaho clan in the NCAA tournament. Boise State goes down. So the Houston Cougars, they win, and I think it's kind of unfair that they get to play Auburn and Birmingham now. Auburn looks really good with those guards, and Marcus Sasser probably won't play in this next game because he's just not healthy. His groin, he re-aggravated it yesterday, QB. That was a big blow to Houston. He didn't play in the entire second half. They had enough to get by the Northern Kentucky North, but look, QB, without Sasser, Houston's not as good. And
they didn't even have him half a lot of the year. They'll be fine. Auburn is a very average basketball team, in my opinion. I mean, I want to say the Gators had a better record in the SEC than Auburn.
Well, Auburn maybe, but Auburn is in the tournament, and
I know that, and I think Auburn has trouble scoring the basketball at times, and Houston will lock them up. Sasser's a tremendous player, but I think Houston wins that game with ease.
Well, it's in Birmingham, Coach.
I don't give a damn where they're playing.
You don't give a damn.
It's a basketball arena, JC.
It's
a 10-foot rim in Birmingham, and it's a 10-foot rim in Houston. Okay.
Well, yeah. Is that how much it is in Birmingham? It's 10 feet.
Yeah.
Alabama. How about this? Brandon Miller doesn't score a point, and they almost get 100. So
he didn't score.
He did not score. And he also, like Sasser, did not play in the second half practically. He's dealing with some sort of a leg issue too. It's not, I don't think, as severe as Sasser's issue. But if I were Houston, I would have let Sasser sit in this game against the Norse and given him 2 more days to rest.
Well, it was close for a while. It was close for a while.
It was. Northern Kentucky played hard. But, we had 2 big upsets. I think we had that notable exception in the Houston game. I don't know. I think it's going to be a battle for them in Birmingham. I think they're going to have it's going to be close. I think it's going to be really because Auburn's guards are fast. They're very physical.
They are.
I think Auburn is going to give them a hard time. We'll see though. Round of 32 is complete after today's games. I don't know who's going to get upset, but somebody is, and then the ones will probably cruise in their games. So that's kind of how it looks for me.
Joseph says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melton Law. He said, a big win for the Gators in baseball. Let's hear the excuses, JC.
No, I just said the guy pitched his heart out. He threw a one-hitter.
He's probably taking a jab at you because they beat Alabama.
Well, okay, here's the excuse. They couldn't hit Sproat. How's that? One hitter, a one-hitter in college with aluminum bats? That's hitting the corners at 99. That is a great pitching performance. And
hey, speaking of aluminum bats, I saw I was going through Twitter the other day and somebody brought something up about how, and I don't know if they were joking or if it was serious because I didn't have time to read it. But you know how Major League Baseball, did they ever tinker with aluminum bats? I can't remember. Okay. Well, anyway, the story was about the PGA Tour. Since pro baseball players have to use wooden bats, they think the PGA Tour should make those guys go back to persimmon woods.
Oh, well, then we wouldn't see these 335-yard drives. That's for sure.
Well, they may be able to doctor up persimmon wood these days.
Wood is wood, QB.
But their swing speed is the key, right?
Yeah, it is. And I watched Shell's Wonderful World of Golf as Byron Nelson faced Gene Littler back in 1963. I had to watch that. And you're right. Their swings are aesthetically perfect, but QB, they barely swung a club, it looked like, back in those days. And they all weighed about 150 pounds. They were smaller people, or they weren't as strong. And now, of course, Byron was a little older, but Gene Littler wasn't that old back in the 60s. He had just come off the U.S. Open in the early 60s. His swing was aesthetically perfect, but he hit it 250 yards. He's hitting it like I am at age 58, but he's consistent down the fairway every time he swung the club back in those days. So I don't know. The athlete has changed. The equipment has certainly changed. And the balls too. I mean, there's no way you can tell me those old Titleist balls were the same as they are today. They're definitely.
Tony has a comment for you, JC, to get you excited, and it's brought to you by Melon Law. Tony says, "Hey, JC,
hey,
a girl from Mandarin High School, so a Mandarin Mustang,
ooh,
which is outside of Jacksonville, won a swimming national title for the Crimson Tide. Did you know that?"
Oh, wow. Wonderful. Well, that's outstanding. Spring sports excellence in Tuscaloosa. Yeah, baby. Wait a minute. Is swimming a spring sport or is it a fall sport?
Swimming goes forever.
It goes forever.
I mean, they swim like year round. I can't even follow it.
I can't even.
They do.
It's like track and field. I don't know when that happens, when it doesn't happen.
But track and swimming, it's like Miles Davis and Miles Holloway and Anthony Nesty, who coach both and do phenomenal jobs. Those athletes like train and compete all year long. It never stops. And Tony chimes in. He says, "Who says Bama only pays the football and hoops players?"
Damn right. We're going after Florida swimmers, baby. Come get you some of that. We're poaching Duval County for some swimming talent up there in Tuscaloosa. It's worldwide.
Hey, Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending, right? Helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. JC on the Titan Tomorrow hotline. We'll have Seth Harp in the second portion of today's show. I got a text here on the Titan Tomorrow text line from an anonymous texter. He says, Tide Golden has 1 year left at UF. He's an awful coach. The basketball program is on life support.
Well, it wasn't the year I expected. They finished sub 500 for the first time in 8 years or something like that, QB. So, it was definitely an off year. They lost two players. They lost the Kawasi kid, and they lost, I think, this kid Lane. They're in the transfer portal. I mean, they just went right to the portal. So I think they have 7 scholarship players. He's got to go find players. It's just that simple. That's his job at this point. It's not drawing up X's and O's. It's getting out on the road and convincing players to come to Gainesville. That's his job right now.
Yeah. Another text here from Daryl on the Titan Tomorrow text line. I don't quite understand it. He says, frankly, JC Shane doesn't give a damn. JC, you are getting closer to Tennessee Orange. I think Josh Rivera could be in the major leagues one day.
Josh. I like Josh Rivera. I like everybody on that baseball team. I've said this for 2 weeks. I'm on board. I jumped on the bandwagon. 3-0 is as good a win as 13-10. So it all counts the same. But in this case, we saw pitching excellence against, I think, a team that was, Alabama had come in here with maybe 1 loss at the most. They have a pretty gaudy record themselves. Now, I don't know who they've played. They may have played, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan in a couple of series. Yeah, so it's hard to say who they played, but they came in here with a very gaudy record, and they couldn't score. They couldn't get on base against Florida's pitcher. So that's impressive. And, I think hitting will come with the Gators. I don't ever worry about them at the plate. Not with those guys. Yeah.
Some other news and notes from Gainesville on campus. Corey Raymond signed a contract extension through 2025. So that's good news for Gator football. They are on spring break right now. They'll be coming back and finishing up the second portion of spring ball. And I mentioned it to Brent yesterday. I don't remember. I guess the way the schedules fall on spring break, it's just strange to me how you start spring ball and then you take a week off because of spring break and then you finish it up. But a lot of people do that nowadays. So
I guess not sure why.
Yeah. JC, our Peachland Dental golf picks. My golfers are actually playing extremely well.
You got a couple.
I got Fleetwood, Adam Hadwin, and Sam Burns. They're at 300, 200, and 200. The leader there's 3 leaders tied at 500. They're at Innisbrook. I don't know where your golfers are. I couldn't find them anywhere on the leaderboard.
Well, I got Justin Thomas at 2 under.
Oh, he was? Okay.
Yeah, JT's at 2 under. So he's right now my best representing golfer. But Woodland is even par. What I was saying, though, was this is a tournament where you see some unknowns jump to the forefront, and Spieth is 4 under, so that's good. Your guy, Ben On, he is also 4 under. But we've got a guy named Skank, Brem, and Jager all at 5 under. Now, 5 under is I mean, that's playing pretty tough, but we've got 3 guys I've never heard of. So that's kind of what happened.
You got today, so things will work itself out. But it's a good event, and I think next week is the match play, right?
It's the match play in Austin. Yeah, the World Golf Championship.
I love watching that because a few of those holes on the river there are just awesome. Awesome holes.
Yes, by the bridge. And Austin, that golf course is very, very impressive. And you will see the world's best playing in that. They love those events. They go to those.
Are you in the market to buy or sell your home? Darling Weeby, a realtor with Caldwell Banker, M. Parish, will provide you with fast, friendly, reliable service. Call her today at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. I want to say, I don't know if I read this or somebody texted to me. I think Gator baseball and softball are playing double headers today because of the weather that's going to be in games this weekend.
That would make sense. I'm glad you mentioned that. There's going to be a lot of rain tomorrow. I guess all the stuff that's been your way has moved its way east and will hit us tomorw. So I think.
Yeah, I don't want to. That's not confirmed. I don't know, but somebody mentioned that to me yesterday.
It would make sense though, because we got a 90% chance of rain tomorrow. So it's going to rain here. So do you want to go through that 12 hours of misery trying to get a baseball or softball game in, or you're going to play where it's absolutely perfect today? It's going to be 75 and clear. It's like this front's just going to roll through tomorrow, and today is the day you can get it all done, and then get these teams out of town. I think you're right, but I think it would make sense, but I haven't read it either. I'm going to go on the old Florida Gator base. Just go on the Florida Gator baseball Twitter site, and there you have it. It hasn't said anything yet, other than Brandon Sproat's unbelievable 11 strikeout, 1-hit performance yesterday, which is a complete game, which is very rare in college baseball.
Yeah.
So
there's no
let's
doubt.
hear it for Brandon. I've been talking about him since the beginning of the hour, but that he's the best pitcher on the staff. He's the ace. So 1-0. I think they'll make an announcement hopefully soon because fans need to know when those games are going to be played. So, who's going to get upset today? I mean, who's going to go down in the big dance today?
Well, hold that thought. I got a text here that came in on the Titan Amar text line from James. James says, "JC, thanks a lot for the Oral Roberts pick. Now my kids can't go to college."
Oh shoot, man. Well, try to get it back on Michigan State and VCU today, James. Pile back, double down on Michigan State and VCU, although after watching the Big Ten, so that does concern me a little bit. But the good news for Michigan State is they're not playing an SEC team today. So,
yeah, so some interesting games today. Obviously, my preseason national champ pick, Creighton, has a tough battle against NC State.
Yeah.
There's one game that's kind of interesting. Florida Atlantic under former Mike White's assistant Dusty May. They have a kid named Brian Greenlee, BJ Greenlee, who grew up with my son playing sports, who played at the Rock as their point guard. They have a 9-8 matchup with Memphis. So they've had a phenomenal year. That's an intriguing matchup. So
yes,
there's going to be an upset. I'm going to give you an upset right now, JC, today.
Let's hear it.
I think the Flashes of Kent State beat Indiana.
Oh, wow. Now I've heard a couple of people mention that one. Kent State looked good in their conference tournament. They won it. So that could happen. Florida Atlantic, though, that's a good pick. Florida Atlantic is 31-3. How about that?
Yeah. I don't know if Florida Atlantic, because Memphis is a team that's a lot like Houston that just has athletes.
Yeah.
They don't have those great scorers or shooters. They just got dudes that are physical and get after you.
Yeah.
So I think FAU could have some problems there, but I'm going to go ahead and call the upset of Kent State beating Indiana.
And I'll take, and as I just mentioned, VCU as a 12 seed is playing St. Mary's at 5. I think VCU defensively will get all over St. Mary's in their deliberate set offense. They're only laying 4.5 as a 5 seed. So to me, that's that looks like a game that we could see a 12 beat a 5. So I'm going to take VCU as my upset today, if you can call it that.
Do you think Kentucky can get? I mean, I think Providence can beat Kentucky.
Yeah. Oh, Providence can absolutely beat Kentucky.
Could you imagine what the Big Blue Nation is going to do if they were to lose in round one?
I mean, really, yeah, they'd make it would be embarrassing to the conference after the day we had yesterday. So, you'd hope that the flag bearer of excellence in the SEC over the last 5 decades would show up in this game. I don't know. I mean, they're a 6 and Providence an 11. Winner plays Kansas State or Montana State. So Kentucky fans are going to be, it's going to be a close game. Providence is not to be ignored. That's going to be a close game. I think it's in.
Well, I just want you to know, in my bracket challenge that I did for our program.
Yeah.
I took your Oral Roberts pick, and I had Oral Roberts winning. I had Oral Roberts winning like the next 2 games.
What the hell? I mean, they looked so pathetic shooting a basketball yesterday. I just didn't see that.
And I clicked it on. They were down like 15. I'm like, what is going on here? They still have the dude that lit up the Gators 2 years ago.
Yeah, they did.
Amos,
Max Asmus. And I don't know what. Look, they got just manhandled by that Duke team, who's playing really. You got to admit, the Shire's got them playing well. I'm curious to see how good Marquette looks today, because everybody's got a lot of folks have them in the Final Four.
I have them playing for the national title.
Yeah, so Marquette.
And Vermont, I couldn't name one player on their team.
Right, neither could I. And the Vermont Catamounts, winners of their conference. But Arizona losing did hurt a lot of brackets.
So Joe Biden, real quick,
Joe Biden himself had Arizona.
What do you make of this? Because I just pulled it up here, the games today. Miami's a 5 against Drake. The Bulldogs are only a 1.5-point underdog. That doesn't make any sense.
It's the same thing with the VCU. Miami's going to have their hands full with Drake. Drake is probably underseeded, and not many people know it. But yeah, I think you've got a real slugfest coming on that game. The spreads today are a lot closer than they were yesterday, I think, for many of these middle seeded teams. So I'm excited to see how it turns out today. A lot of folks think UConn is going to slip in as a 4 seed into the Final Four. They're going to play Patino today in Iowa, and I would keep my eye out on Texas Christian. I think TCU has a really good team, very aggressive team. I like TCU.
All right, JC, before we get out of here, I saw this posted yesterday. Scotty Scheffler's Masters dinner. Did you see the menu?
No. What was he serving?
I'm a Scotty Scheffler. He and I eat the same.
Okay.
He has cheeseburger sliders for served Scotty style. This is like the appetizer. Firecracker shrimp.
Oh.
Tortilla soup. Then for the main course, you have a choice of a big Texas ribeye or black and red fish with family style mac and cheese, creamed corn, and seasoned fries. And to kick it off, the dessert, warm chocolate chip skillet cookie.
That's the best part for you, because you're a dessert guy.
With a scoop of vanilla ice cream. So I love me some Scotty Scheffler.
He's a great player. Number 1 in the world right now. I don't think there's any argument about it. Yeah.
All right, we're going to turn this program over to our closer, Seth Harp. He's going to be bringing heat coming out of the bullpen. JC, have a good weekend, and
good luck.
Hopefully our listeners have better success with your picks today.
Well, hey, and good luck out in Vegas. I know you guys.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So
it'll be a good trip. Okay.
All right, that's JC joins us on the Titan MR hotline at Celebration Point. That's where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Nike, International Diamond Center, Dave & Buster's, Palmetto Moon, Escape Apology, Visors, and the HBC's Restaurant Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We'll see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. Going to take a quick time out. Come back. Seth Harp takes over. We'll see you on Monday, folks. Take care.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, Comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics. Live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's. Eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Q Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi, Steve Spurrier here. You know, making a reservation at my restaurant is easier than a Saturday afternoon homecoming game against Vandy. You don't have to call or email. Just go to spurriers.com, hit the reservation button, pick a date, a number of guests, and a time. It's so simple, I can do it. In fact, I just did. Maybe I'll see you tonight.
Seth Harp, Harp on Sports, with you here on this Friday. Hey, happy St. Patrick's Day to you and yours. I know I don't have my green on quite yet. My mom was a Purdue alum, so, boiler up, as they say, back in the Hoosier State. What do we have in store for you on this second half hour of Podup with Matthews in the morning? Of course, the guys already hit on Florida's win over Alabama. Sproats a one-hit shutout. It was also ESPN 98.1 FM, 850 AM WRUF night, Earl Condren Ballpark, as the wife of our late dean, Pam Wright, threw out the first pitch. So it was fitting. She threw a strike, and then Brandon Sproat proceeded to throw a lot of them. You don't see too many baseball games that end in under 3 hours anymore, let alone 2.5 hours. Let alone 2 hours and 15 minutes. 2 hours? It's remarkable. You enjoyed it, didn't you? Everybody talks about how speeding up the game is, we are traditionalists. Just to sit back, a leisurely day at the park, enjoy. In fact, that cookie was less than 2 hours. It was great, wasn't it? Now, the brilliance on the mound was Greg Maddux-esque, if you will. No, he was great. And that's why all the non-conference stuff, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago with softball, where, mowing down certain programs, regional programs, and starting off 12-0 or just blitzkrieging some of these schools. And then you go out west and softball take on UCLA and Oregon, and you get no hit, you get 10 runs, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in a position where you're almost getting no hit again against Oregon. It's like, okay, when you're not playing any good quality competition, or at least not College World Series quality competition, what does that mean? But when you are going up against, and look, is Alabama, LSU, or Vanderbilt, or even what South Carolina used to be? No. But when you can shut out an SEC team at home, no matter where you shut them out, when you can shut them out, and you can do it not like on an awful night, but like on a decent weather night too. This wasn't exactly like 45 degrees in one of those cold nights where the bats weren't working. I mean, it was brilliant. Brilliant. And it got me thinking about something. One of the things that, and I brought this up a little bit yesterday. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. One of the things that seemed to be a theme, or at least a theme as of late, is a lot of, bagging on Scott Strickland. Todd Golden, you don't make the tournament, you get embarrassed in the NIT in the first round at home, people are mad. I get it. I get why people are upset. Then all of a sudden you have a situation in which, people are still pointing about football and what should be done, and, oh gosh, this is a mess. And yeah, it didn't end the way anybody wanted it to. I get it. But now we have a situation where baseball is thriving, and sometimes the best move is no move. There are a lot of people. There are a lot of people over the course of the last few years that wanted Sully gone. There are a lot of people not happy with the way the program was going, to the point that we even heard last year, well, just go ahead and go to LSU. Just go ahead and get out of here. Should we get maybe it's time to get rid of Sully. Get rid of Sully. We heard a lot of that, didn't you? And what's interesting about this is they've righted the ship. They are one of the top 5 programs in college baseball again. Now, we have a long season, but, if Sully isn't the head coach here, Sproat's no longer here. If Sully's not the head coach here, Jack Caglione's not here. So, there's a lot of pressure, at least, especially with the loss to South Alabama, what happened with Oklahoma last year. There's a lot of pressure, at least a lot of resentment publicly, that he's got to go. It's time for Sully to go. Time for Sully to go. Maybe it's time for him to go. And Scott Strickland didn't do anything. So sometimes great moves are no moves. You hear this at the trading deadline in baseball a lot. Sometimes the best move is no move at all. No move at all is the best move. And lo and behold, what do you have? You have yourself a situation in which Sully's still the head baseball coach here. And, it's the ebb and flow of a career. So many people want to pull the plug so quickly when it comes to coaches. Look, and I get why the plug had to be pulled on Dan Mullen. I get what happened. That's the guy that went to 3 straight major bowl games in a row, had a bad year, lost recruiting edges. I get plug pulled. Sully had the team was preseason number 1. We were talking about maybe the greatest college baseball team ever. They don't even make it out of their regional. Get skull drugged by South Alabama. Ebb and flows. Ebb and flows. That was a bad ending to an ugly year. 2 years later, this team, it's the best team that they've had, or it's the most complete team that they've had at this point since they went to Omaha last. It is. And we'll see what this weekend series holds. But what are they getting? They're getting timely hitting and great pitching. Timely hitting and great pitching. So good for them. Good for them. And as well as I do, when it comes to college baseball, the whole thing you got to do is win series. Win series and you're in good shape. And that's what they're doing right now. So good for them. Let's see here. So there's baseball. Women's basketball wins. They win in the WNIT. So, they advance. And the women's field is twice as big as the men's field, right? There's 64 teams in the women's NIT as opposed to the men's that are 32. So there you go on that front is the ladies advance. And that's what the men needed to do. You get into a tournament like that and, winning it. I don't know how much pride or how much we were talking about this the other day too, right? About hanging banners if you win the NIT or how big of a deal it is. But what it does do is it allows you to compete for a couple more weeks. See what you got with some of these underclassmen. End the season on somewhat of a positive note. And, Florida with a big win in the women's NIT. So, okay, there we go. But there's just a couple things going into Gator sports that I wanted to bring your way here on this Friday as we let this all start to simmer. What do we have here? Again, Seth Harp on Sports in for the second half of Podup with Matthews in the morning. And, of course, the service of QC Kinetics. If you have joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back, it won't go away. You should check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief. Got surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics, locations in Ocala, and now open in Gainesville. Again, Seth Harp joining you, courtesy of the Titan MRI hotline. Also, if you have any questions for us via Facebook, Meldon Law, Facebook Live questions of the day. NCAA tournament. Let the chaos begin, right? Oh my gosh, look at all this. It's all sorts of, upset, anger, and we got teams that we're rooting against, and look what happened. Look what happened to Arizona. Look what happened to Virginia. And here's what makes the NCAA tournament so fascinating. It's the one sport that everybody gets what they want. It is. It's the one sport that everybody gets what they want. Because you have 32 games. in the span of 36 hours of this sucker. You have 32 games in the span of 36 hours. Starting at noon yesterday, you play 16 games in day one, right? You play 16 games on day two. So the fact that you can get 16 games in 32 hours, or a little bit longer than that, right? 36 hours, is that there are bound to be a couple of upsets. There are bound to be a couple of things that jar you. And we had them. But there's also this misnomer that upsets occur all the time during this thing and it's just pure chaos. Well, not really. Of the 16 games yesterday, the underdog won straight up what? 4? 25% clip? Oh, okay. But of course, the underdog is going to get 75% of the attention as opposed to the favorite. And that's why this thing works, especially the first few days. The first 2 days of this thing are fascinating because of everything that takes place. Then you get into the weekend and then things start to figure themselves out. And of course, there are teams that get through this thing that you didn't expect. And the SEC overall, as a conference, let's face it, A&M, oh my gosh, Alabama looks strong. Everybody left Tennessee dead for right. They were one of the teams that I had getting beat right away to Louisiana, didn't lose. Bruce Pearl and Auburn look good. So you have this thing, and of course, Mississippi State loses in the play-in game. So the first few days of this thing, what happened? Well, I think the Alabama outcome is something that everybody, of course, expected. The Tennessee outcome is one of these things where, a lot of people are picking them to get beat, and okay, here they come through. Again, Auburn in one of those situations where it was a coin flip. A&M a little bit of a uh-oh. And were they seated correctly? For the longest time here, everybody's talking about A&M got hosed, A&M got hosed, A&M got hosed. They had a raw deal. Did they? They just got dumped. So out of the gate, the SEC is a conference. Yeah, if I was going to pick one word to describe it here in the first day of the NCAA tournament, the word that I would use would be adequate. Adequate start. Adequate start. You got a couple teams that are gone. 3 teams that have won. You got a couple more in action today. So, we're going to get Kentucky out there. And we talked about this, ranking these teams going in, right? That what SEC teams did we feel had a legitimate chance to get through the first weekend? What teams we thought had a legitimate chance to find themselves playing on Saturday and Sunday? And what did we say? Well, of course, Alabama. And then was it Kentucky after that? I think it was Kentucky, right? And then after that, we talked, well, boy, A&M's going to have to go up against it too. So that wouldn't have been the case, right? And then we look around and go, wait a second here. What about, oh boy, man, okay, well, maybe Tennessee, if they get hot, but boy, they look ripe for the picking. Overall, I would say it was just, again, from an SEC perspective, it was an adequate day, not a great day. And if, 3 teams in the SEC have won right now? Alabama, Tennessee, and of course, Auburn. Look, if you can get 2 more to win today and you get 5 through at least to the second round, and I always thought, look, if the SEC could get 2 or 3 teams into the Sweet 16, if you get 2, okay, you get 3, it's a pretty good showing. It's a pretty solid showing. So that's where we are in terms of the SEC and the NCAA basketball tournament. But, Arizona, everybody falls in love with the upsets. And I get it. Arizona getting beat, Princeton doing it. And what we saw happen with Virginia. And that's why I always talk about, who's the sneaky upset. You never see the big one coming. You don't. You don't see Oral Roberts coming 2 years ago. You don't see what we saw last year. Was that St. Peter's that went all the way to the Elite Eight? You don't see these things coming, the big ones. And Princeton? Was it 0.017% had Princeton? The only reason you would pick Princeton at all over Arizona is you're an Arizona State fan or you absolutely love Princeton. It's the only reason why you would do it. The only reason why you would do it. So, yeah, of course there's no perfect brackets left. How could there be? Unless you're a Princeton grad that also, you're a Princeton fan that absolutely loves the Tigers, and for some reason you hate Virginia. Well, maybe those courses collide with one another. Or if you're, uh, right, then that's the only way this works. Or if you're a Furman grad and you absolutely, for some reason, despise Arizona, then maybe that would work out for you in that vein. But overall, I say this: look, it was a good day for the NCAA tournament. It was a good, solid day, and that's what you need, right? You got. I always talk about this when it comes to the NCAA tournament. You have four game windows throughout the course of a day, and what you need out of the gate is you need some sort of upset, drama, thrilling thing to kickstart it. Is what you need. You need a spark of some sort. And you had it in the first set of games with Furman beating Virginia. And the minute that happens, oh my gosh, we have an upset in the tournament. Let's check in. That's how ratings build in something like this. That's how they build in something like this. But I'm also one of these realists because I always see the numbers. And I've always said this when it comes to running a radio station, broadcasting, media. I quit listening to what you as fans say and I watch what you actually do. I'll say that again. I quit listening to what you say a long time ago about what you consume, and I actually watch what you do. Because this happened a couple of years ago. It was a show that I did on the air, and all of you threw a fit. I should say all of you. People threw a fit when they took away the Gator bait chant. And I heard nothing but, I'm never going to go to another game again. I'm tired of this. I'm not going to go to a game. Of course you're going to go to a game. You're full of it. You're full of it. Never going to go to a game again. Give me a break. Of course you're going to go. Of course you're going to go. When the Swamp officially reopened to full capacity, you sold out the Alabama game, didn't you? So much that I'm never going to go again. No. I'm never going to watch again. I'm never going to eat this again. I hate that place. Yeah, well, it's always funny when you ask people what their favorite beer is or their favorite food is, place to go eat. And I'm not going to say the names because, advertising. But if I say the names of the most popular beer and the most popular fast food restaurant and asked you if they were your favorites, you'd say no, but they're billion-dollar companies. Somebody's going to them. So with the NCAA tournament, I love all the upsets. I love all the upsets. Yeah, you sure you like the last 5 minutes of it? Now, you watch what happens for the ratings of that Princeton game. Watch what happens. And this stuff's all good at the beginning. And I like this about the NCAA tournament. You get a couple upsets. It gives the little guy something to cheer for. And one, all fans of the underdog is what's cool about this. All fans of the underdog gravitate towards the one underdog. So you basically have 100 fan bases that are cheering for this one underdog, if not more. You don't have fans of all major programs cheering for a major program. That's what makes upsets so special in the tournament, because no matter who you are, teams were rooting. Like everybody that doesn't like Arizona was rooting for Princeton. The entire Ivy League was rooting for Princeton. Small school fans everywhere, mid-majors were rooting for Princeton. Not, when Kentucky is playing tonight, you're not going to have fans in the ACC all going, let's get Kentucky. I hope Kentucky wins. You're going to have Virginia fans going, let's see Kentucky win. You're not going to have Indiana fans and Michigan fans going, oh, let's see Kentucky win. Let's rally behind them. Everybody rallies behind the little guy. They do, which makes this fun. That's what makes this cool, makes it enjoyable. But when it's all said and done, when you add up all the seed numbers of the Final Four, you seldom get more than 10 or 11, right? You get a 1, a 2, maybe a 4 every now and then. When you add up all those seeds, you're lucky to get to double digits. Lucky to get there. So what the tournament does so well is it gives the little guy something that they want, what you got yesterday. And it gives the big guys something that they want. Alabama punched through. Kansas, when Bill Self comes back, struggled a little bit, right? But they flipped it on in the second half. Duke, who, good gracious, they're a 5 seed. Good night. They're just a team that's just clicking and it's working, and they're a lot like North Carolina was last year, aren't they? Duke, John Shire here, in his first year as head coach, Duke looks a lot like Carolina did last year with Hubert Davis. in the NCAA tournament. Good stuff. Greg, Biden's not better at picking any brackets and running the country. Well, politically aside, I can tell you this, Greg, he picked Arizona to win the national title. So, yeah, that's all that the president picked Arizona to win the national title. But, Greg, with all fairness, so did Rob Gronkowski, right? So, there you go. And, the key to all this is I had people say, it's Harp, your bracket's busted because I posted on social media. It's like, it's not busted. I had Arizona losing to Baylor in the Sweet 16. You can't, depending on what. Here, Uncle Seth's going to give you a little bit of advice when it comes to this. You know how you lose these brackets? Okay. These games in the first round are usually worth a point or 10 points, or depending in the national 100, and then they double as they go along. You lose your brackets when you start losing Elite Eight teams. When you bow out of this, when you get in trouble with this, is when you lose Elite Eight teams in your bracket. Because think about it. Each round usually doubles, right? 1 point in the first round, 2 points, then 4 gets you to the Elite Eight. So 4 games today is worth 1 team in the Elite Eight. So as long as you keep your Elite Eight around, that's how you win. That's how you win this thing. At least win your individual bracket. Let's see here. Podup with Matthews in the morning. Service of Comfort Temp. Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is the promise. Beat the summer heat and schedule your air conditioners tune-up today, keeping you chill and the Florida heat far away. Comfort Temp Heating and Air. Give them a call today. 352-376-2366. That's 352-376-2366. There you go. All right, a couple more minutes here. Got about 10 more minutes here. Again, if you have any questions for me today here, fire away. Facebook Live, courtesy of Meldon Law, as I join you on the Titan MRI hotline. Again, the big story, of course, at least here locally, was the job that Brandon Sproat did on the mound last night, which is brilliant and dominant. And there's only so much hyperbole that you can throw out there. But when you're shutting out SEC teams on the mound, when you are shutting out SEC teams on the mound and you've got double-digit strikeouts and games are lasting less than 2 hours, there's not enough that you can say about it. There's not. And, the job that Sully's done with the pitching staff, the job that they've done this year, I guess the theme of this second half hour of the show today is, a lot of people are over Scott Strickland. A lot of people wanted, Scott Strickland to push Sully out a couple of years ago. He didn't. So, again, I don't mind if you criticize Scott. I think there's some things that are worthy of questioning. But he did stick to his guns with Sully, and he was right? Correct? So I don't mind to criticize people, but credit's got to be where credit's got to be sometimes. In fact, that he stuck with him when a lot of people wanted him gone. Scott Strickland deserves some credit there, at least on that front. He does. And, that was the big story. And, hey, the ladies winning the WNIT, which all of a sudden takes on a little bit different life, right? Because the WNIT is twice as big as the NIT for the men. There's 64 teams, so the women are now part of the final 32. And the WNIT is just one of these things that we know it exists. I've been to a WNIT game before. Well, man, Michigan played Western Michigan in the WNIT one year, and I was there. We're covering it back when I was in Michigan. And again, that's the last WNIT game that I've been to. Probably the last one that I watched. So the ladies punch a ticket. They win, which, okay, well, that's good news. We get to this, and for a season that was a little bit disappointing. Now if they can win another game in this thing, okay. Mayor Wright said, wise decision to keep Sully. Yeah, look, it's one of these things. It's not like, I don't know how imminent this was or how bad this was. There was just a ton of smoke about Sully 2 years ago when they lost to South Alabama. And last year, people were furious when they had the game against Oklahoma apparently in hand and blew it late. And you just had this cavalcade. Remember, I run the day-to-day operations of the station that broadcasts all this stuff. So I see all the emails that come in, all the complaints, all the moaning, all the griping. I see it all. I hear it all. And for all the, oh, Sully needs to go. Sully needs to go. Time for Sully to go. There's a lot of pressure on Scott to make a decision on Sully. Kept him, and look at the success they're having. So, you're going to criticize Sully for basketball, football, that's fine. But sometimes the best move is no move. And in that case, it was. Let's see here. NCAA tournament action on the horizon for you today, at least here on ESPN. Gainesville on ESPN 98.1 FM 850 AM WRUF. Football, or we're going to have, like, as we start to weave this with baseball and rain delays and double headers, whenever baseball is not playing, we're going to have the NCAA tournament on, with the exception of Sunday, because we're going to have softball, because softball doubles up against Mizzou, right, today, and then day off tomorrow because of the weather, then Sunday. So whenever these games are on, expect basketball to be on the station. Try to give you guys as much coverage of this as possible. And to me, at this point of the year with the NCAA tournament, much rather be watching the games and hearing somebody talk, oh, what a great upset. Oh, look at this. Oh, did you see what just happened? Much rather have you play them so you can listen to them and consume them. It's a pretty cool thing on the radio, too, because this is what's kind of neat about this, is that the NCAA tournament on the radio is what we used to remember the NCAA tournament like. Now that it's on 4 different TV stations, and you're ready for this, the fact that it's been on 4 different TV stations for 13 years now, it's kind of hard to believe, right? It's been 13 years since that platform existed, where they don't really bounce around from game to game in game. Because let's face it, you used to get your CBS affiliate, and you'd bounce around from games when you weren't getting your marquee game. Well, now that's what radio does, because we don't have 4 different radio channels we can splice things off on. So you get the one feed and they bounce around from games. So what the radio feed of the NCAA tournament is probably something that you remember what it was when they expanded the field to 64 back in the mid 80s, with what, Villanova winning the title that year in 85, and then going on from there. So cool stuff. But that's what we have coming up for you this weekend. Again, strong weekend, strong start for baseball. It'll be interesting to see what the Gators do out of the gate and, kind of set the tone here. Are they the SEC favorites at this point when it comes to baseball? Don't know. But we know who the ace is. We know who the ace is now. Not that we didn't know that before, but Brandon Sproat, he's going to be Mr. Friday night. And he was Mr. Thursday night, depending on when the series starts. And boy, was he ever out of the gate. And deserves a ton of credit for that. And now, what do? Well, now you watch the rest of the SEC go. And again, when you win the first game of the series, then you start to see sweep. Yeah, I get it. When you lose the first game of the series, then what do you see? Just don't get swept. So doubleheaders are tough to sweep anyway. And the Gators will win the SEC regular season as long as they win every series. Right? Easier said than done. But there's where we are on that front. So good to go. Seth Harp on Sports with you here on this Friday. Again, enjoy everything that you've consumed over the course, or enjoy everything you're going to consume over the course of this weekend. Now begins a stretch run when it comes to sports that I try to avoid overstatement as much as possible. And this is the greatest, this is the most amazing, but this is such an enjoyable time of year because you have the NCAA tournament. The NCAA tournament, you got college baseball that starts. It pivots into the Masters, and then it pivots into the start of the Major League Baseball season. So it's a fun month here. The next month, the NCAA tournament, college baseball's here, SEC plays here. The Masters is a couple weeks away, and then start of the Major League Baseball season. And if you like, and I enjoy the NBA, so I know a lot of people don't, but I do. The NBA playoffs start to heat up here. So to me, it's a fun little 6-week stretch where you get all sorts of different pockets of different sporting events taking place. So enjoy the next few weeks here. Be a lot of fun. Again, I need to thank everybody from behind the scenes with you here on this Friday. Again, strong start to the NCAA tournament. Strong start. Some of your big heavy hitters are through. Your Bamas are through. Your Kansases are through. Your Dukes are through. Yeah, a couple people got beat. Virginia isn't. Losing Virginia really doesn't mean anything to the NCAA tournament. It really doesn't. Losing Arizona, it's a 2 seed, but it really doesn't mean what people think it means in terms of ratings and grasp. And like when Ohio State got beat as a 15-2, okay, when Oral Roberts beat him a couple years ago, it doesn't damage the tournament that much. When you lose Duke, when you lose Kentucky, when you lose your 1 seeds, it damages the tournament. So, no damage. Not yet. May have some today. So there you go. See what the SEC does, but an adequate start for the Southeastern Conference in this thing as they get 3 teams through, at least to the round of 32. All right, everybody, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the NCAA tournament. You're going out to the ballpark, dodge the raindrops if we get any, and take care. And I know everybody will be back on Monday to talk about what a crazy weekend, of course, we're about ready to experience. So enjoy your weekend, everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Take care.